Darius Snieckus is the editor-in-chief of Recharge. It's a publication which focuses on energy transition. Darius, welcome to the program. I read one very interesting analysis which said that if the European Union were to completely extract itself from all reliance on Russian energy, the Russian economy could shrink by 25%. The question is, what would be the effect on the EU?
Well, again, it's a deeply nuanced question. I think important that we think about the energy transition in the broader scope of the industrial transformation that's coming with it. So fundamentally, the energy industry is one part of the energy transition. As you rightly identify, obviously Europe is dependent on Russian gas. 40% of the consumption in Europe is Russian gas. 30% is oil. So the impacts, obviously, of taking 2 million barrels per day of oil for starters out of the European economy will be massive.
But surely that indicates that it's almost impossible to make that transition quickly from fossil fuels to renewables.
Well, this is again a much bigger discussion. Fundamentally, we've known for decades. I mean, I wrote the oil and gas industry for 15 years before we launched Recharge back in 2009. This is not an awakening within the global energy system. The shift should have been taking place much sooner than it is now. I think fundamentally, if you look at the IEA figures as they were spelled out last year before COP26, this is code red for humanity. And more emotive language, obviously around similar terms. The point is that we need to at least quadruple our build out of renewable energy in the next years to stand any chance of getting close to the 1.5-degree Paris targets that were set back in 2015.
It was just a couple of years ago, I believe, that Scotland, for the first time, an entire day of its energy consumption came from renewables. And I believe that some Scandinavian countries have been able to achieve the same. Which are the nations that are leading the way that can show others this is how you do it?
Well, I think, again, you must be careful there insofar as, oil and gas as a finite resource is about extraction, refining, and consumption. Renewables, invariably, these are variable energy resources. Wind rises and falls. The sun rises and sets. And what we see in one country, such as Sweden, as you rightly identify, or indeed Scotland, won't necessarily be reflected in other countries. Every country, every region is going to have to define and develop its own notion of what energy transition is, what part wind, what part solar, what part hydrogen, what part energy storage, what part other renewable sources, hydropower, for instance.
Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has been telling every country that invites him to speak. He says, remember, when you are buying Russian energy, you are financing the war against my country. How much is politics involved here? And I don't mean the politics of conflict. I mean the politics of those fossil fuel companies that keep pushing their products and their relationship with the leaders and governments around the world.
Yes, indeed. I mean, the capital shift is on. It's not taking place nearly as quick as we'd obviously like to see on this planet. If you look at the European oil majors, the Shells, the BPs, Equinor, Total, they are beginning to spend more on renewables. They're buying it heavily to offshore wind as well as other resources. But fundamentally, this is, we see in Ukraine the first instance, truthfully, where climate action is wedded directly to energy security, as has been pointed out by some of your previous interviewees. So, yes, this is a question of, every dollar that goes into Russian coffers. And to be sure, I think it's around $55 billion that go into that does flow into into the Russian Moscow's coffers on a yearly basis, based on obviously our consumption out with Russia, our consumption of the oil and gas. So yes, it's all political. I mean, energy is political, finally, isn't it?
Darius, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. Darius Snieckus from Recharge.